Welcome everyone to another session of our Data Video Summit. In this session, we will be discussing AI. I'll leave the specific topic to the guys. Would like to mention that we have a Q&A chat on this session. Please use it to send your questions. At the end of the session, we'll be answering to all of them. And also on the chat, I'll be pasting the link to our Slack group so we can keep the networking going on. So guys, feel free to start.
Okay, well, thank you, Bruno. Hello, everybody. Happy to be here. Thank you for joining us. We have a special topic today, very important about personalization. Greetings from Miami. I am Antonio Calderon, CTO and co-founder from Stream Media. I will be your host today. Just to let you know, we at Stream Media, we focus on 3 areas: distribution, engagement, and monetization. So we have an expert today that they will let us know everything about AI, which is, some of you maybe don't know, artificial intelligence and ML, machine learning, that you will be listening a lot. So I will let them to introduce themselves, let us know about they and their companies, and then we will jump directly into the discussion. So I'll start with Bleuenn.
Hi, thanks for inviting us. My name is Bleuenn Le Goffic. I'm head of business development and innovation at Axido. Axido, I've been around for about 15 years now, and we've been enabling the service providers out there to develop and deliver and grow their video experience towards their user base. So when we are talking about being a video solution provider, we are obviously looking at the user experience at first, but we are also looking at how do we power it all, right? And how do you make sure that you keep on experimenting and innovating on it? So I think personalization for us is a very important topic. The technology behind it is as well some part of the solution and part of the friction of onboarding personalization. So I'm very happy if we can help out the audience a bit on understanding how can they get started on experimenting with personalization.
Great, thank you, Bleuenn. So let's continue with Cristobal.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cristobal Ortega. I'm based on Madrid. I am CEO of Time Data Driven. Okay, for you to know us, we are a platform that turns data into knowledge. So what we do mainly is we build insights, but also AI and machine learning products to automate business decisions. So what we do mostly is to turn the data in something that is actionable that you can use, and that's all from my side. So
great, thank you, Cristobal. And Cyril, it's your turn.
Yes, hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Cyril from Mux. I'm Director of Strategic Accounts out of London. Mux is a San Francisco-based company that helps stream beautiful videos everywhere. So we do mainly 2 things, and that relates to this topic, and partnering with Axido and Jump as well. We, on one hand, help developers stream videos, whether it's on demand or live streaming, through a very simple API. And this is optimized and personalized in terms of quality of experience based on data sets that we collect using a product called Mux Data, with which we essentially collect everything that relates to the quality of experience of people streaming online, which relates directly to that topic, because obviously we collect a massive amount of data that then helps our customers providing the best experience on their service, whether we're talking about a simple fitness application to super large scale live streaming platforms, streaming millions of concurrent viewers. That's what we do.
That's great, super. Oh, thank you. Well, again, now let's jump directly into the discussion about the personalization, right? This, we know that everybody is looking to have their own experience on when we are talking about video platforms. And I want my custom sessions, my customer experience, the type of content that I want. And so let's see how we are able to make that possible with the existing technology, the solutions that you offer. Let's bring some use cases and how all these put it together into an existing and maybe a platform that will start, from scratch. So, and I think the first question would be for you, Cristobal, to give us some introduction, right? To help us understand about the AI and how we can benefit as a service provider, or as on any video platform. So, give us some intro and understand about the AI.
Okay. So let's talk about AI and rich personalization. Okay, you know, personalization is mainly aimed to increase the engagement of the user. Okay, so therefore, personalization is going to enhance the experience. It will increase the loyalty. It will increase the consumption. Okay, but with all of that, it will increase also the profits of your service. Okay, by reducing churn, for example, or by having a better trial conversion. Okay, so machine learning capabilities here are able to identify patterns or maybe propose solutions that otherwise you wouldn't be able to identify. Okay, they will remain unseen. Okay, so in this process of using machine learning for personalization, I think editorialization is key. Okay, it's going to improve the user experience, and this editorialization can be really boosted by machine learning. Okay, in my opinion, I think personalization is not only a matter of making recommendations, but it's to redesign and boost the editorial capabilities of your service. Okay, so being an editor in your company, you have a bias on the way you think. You are preconditioned. You have a very limited or a small team. So a way to get rid of those handicaps is to use machine learning. Okay. Let's think about it like in a video service, the catalog can be really, really big. Okay, you are going to have a lot of different content and assets, but the focus of the customer is really narrow. Okay, so the customer is just going to focus on just some strips, some contents. They are not going to see the whole catalog. So how you are going to present your catalog? Okay, in most services, even when you are presenting for the whole household. Okay, or even by profiles. So you are going to present for different kind of people. You are going to have the father, the mother, the daughter, the son, wherever. Okay, so how to compose your strips to present the best content, and how you are going to prepare it in anticipation. So when they connect, they are going to find it. Okay, so you need to give personalized results, and these results need to be driven by data and by consumption. Okay, so at the end, with personalization, I think we need to redesign the whole experience and move from a static catalog. Static content or static catalog is something that we don't want, and we need to move from that to a personalized path of discovery for the user. So you are going to go with the user discovering the content that could be more interesting for them. Okay, and I think that the best way to do it is through machine learning. Okay, so for me, that is the main idea on how the AI and machine learning can help the personalization, is that machine learning can give really a boost to your editorial capabilities. And you can do it somewhat effortless, because you are not going to invest direct resources on that. You are going to prepare a work frame to do that. Okay, so that's for me is AI personalization. Okay, is to suit your service to each user specifically. Okay,
yeah,
and that's the main idea for me.
And Cristobal, and now talking about that, the AI and personalization will benefit just when I have a big catalog. I mean, let's say I am a content provider that doesn't have, so many titles, a big catalog. This is something that also will affect my service, or do I need a minimum number of catalog? Because it's when this becomes really useful, right? Or anyone will benefit out of it.
I think it can benefit you. I mean, I don't know any video provider with a small catalog. At the end, you are going to have a catalog that is going to be bigger than the larger presentation that you have. So at the end, you always have the need to present exactly what is better for the user. Okay, and so I have not found any case in which it is not necessary. And at the same time, it is going to be especially interesting in some kind of providers that, for example, have a very specific catalog, like, I don't know, documentals or something that is not usual. Because when we are taking the first examples that we find, like Netflix and so on, and they have a very wide catalog, but they are films, they are series, we know all of them. But for example, if you have very specialized catalog with only documentaries or something related, I don't know, to dogs or something like that, it's even more interesting, okay? Because it's going to be something that you maybe cannot see as it is, but when you apply machine learning, you are going to find patterns that can help you to energize what you are going to show, okay?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that always it's interesting to use it.
Yeah, it's useful. It's a new, so those are the new tools, right? That we need also to invest. So I think my next question would be for Bleuenn. Bleuenn, based on your experience, how you think the service providers, they perceive this personalization feature? I mean, what you can share with us based on your experience about the, how they perceive the personalization?
Yeah, I suppose that's a good question, because eventually this is about asking the question, what kind of business problem you have that you feel personalizations one way or another would fix, right, would address. So I suppose that there is not a one size problem fits everyone, and personalization in any aspect is going to solve your if it's your conversion problem, or if you see your retention problem, your discoverability of the content, the fact that you cannot potentially give enough value to your long tail content, etc. So I think when we talk about personalization, we often talk about, of course, content, as you mentioned. We talked about the editorial aspect of things, which is eventually the user experience. I think we should also talk about how do you engage with users outside the service. So that's part of the business interaction that you need to have as a service provider. So how do you personalize that to the new users you're reaching out to? So content, I think content, UX, and the marketing strategy are all under capacity of being personalized. Okay, so then the next question is, what's your business problem, right, that you're trying to fix? If you have an existing, your greenfield service provider, okay, then what you need is user acquisition, right? What you need is to make sure that people have been hooked into getting into your service, and then start discovering other kind of content within your service, right? So how do you do that? That you're doing that, and Jump can talk about it. I mean, in few months and few weeks of the service being live, you can start actually seeing patterns of consumption, right? Content consumption, how people would jump from probably the TV show that got you the user in to something else, right? And this is how you will start shaping things. So I think, to me, if you're a greenfield, you will think about personalization in a way to ensure that you are maximizing the the retention for the coming months until you can get to, after first year, a certain user base that you can then work on different engagement strategy on. If you are an established broadcaster, that you've had your brand, likely so what you need is to diversify, right? To diversify in terms of market share. You need to diversify in terms of what are the user base that you're not addressing, the user segments. How do you get to learn about those? How do you make product decisions that are data driven? And how do you make sure that every decision that you take, you evaluate their impact and you learn from them? So I think to me, personalization is always on the table. That's not, that's for sure. I think that if we avoid, and I think that's our role as tech providers, to have a look at which technology, which tools is the best suited for solving addressing their business challenge. I think AI, whatever you call the voice personalization, as we can see on Amazon, right, where you can authenticate yourself just by talking to Alexa, and then suddenly has understood that's your voice and that your profile will come into it, and then all the personalization experience of the voice service is going to come with it. That's AI, right? But nowadays that's something that people have forgot about. Okay, that's AI. That's that's my, my voice and my Google Home or my Alexa that I'm talking to at home. That's becoming commoditized. So I think it's very important that we keep on the focus on what's the business challenge to address. AI is a tool to address it. It needs to be effortless, as you mentioned in this panel title. But not everything can be solved via a toolkit, right? If you don't have the right identification of the business challenge, and if you don't experiment to learn from different strategies you're trying, this is not magic, right? It's not going to give you the solution and then suddenly you become very successful. So it's very important that our service providers have always asked this question, and I think that the solution is very much tailored every time to what they need. But there is an amazing set of tools that we can leverage out there, and I mean, Max and Jump are both contributing to that, right? So I think it's all about making sure that you know what personalization should fix first.
Yeah, but you think that providers right now, they have the focus maybe on a different areas, like, I don't know, maybe the technology part, to make sure that the streaming itself is properly set, or the content, and not just paying attention to the personalization, or they are putting this on the last station on the chain, or now everybody knows that this is like mandatory today for any video platform?
I think it's I think you never have only one area of focus, thankfully. So there's not either just operational or just about monetization or just about the user engagement, right? It's never like this. So I think it's what's very important is that in every conversation we have right now, the positioning of the service and having a growth roadmap, right? How do you you're talking to CMOs at big service providers, and they have a forecasted growth, and they need to tackle it, right? So obviously it's not just about fixing the screws on the pipeline. It's also about understanding that if you spend the money on fixing the screws on the pipeline, this is because actually it impacts your user engagement, which is eventually contributing to retention. So there is not. I think we meet Max and Jump in so many accounts, and the reason is not because we're good partners, that's for sure, but that's also because eventually we have a lot of customers that are having in different departments and different demands at the same time to fix a lot of items which are eventually coming up together with a growth to make sure to support a growth strategy. So yes, they know the importance of it. I think it's a matter of prioritization, and it's a matter, we'll talk about maybe a bit more the friction, why some are not investing in this. And I think this is what we should focus on, because eventually this is I think it's a given that everyone would like to make data-driven decision on their product roadmap, right? I think that's always.
Yeah, no, and also I think maybe lack of information, right? Maybe I cannot afford, to implement into my platform, the personalization features, and I think maybe that's also some of the areas that maybe people, some providers, stay away and to implement this because it would be way expensive. So, Cyril, the services, how we can, the services learn about the viewers to personalize the service, how we can get the most out of the viewers in order to provide that personalization.
Well, that's actually, that stems from what Bleuenn really pointed out, which is whether you try to optimize for your business KPIs throughout personalization, or whether you want to optimize throughout your workflow outside of the app, what you need to be building upon is a data pipeline. And that's kind of the most important thing, really, is whatever you want to be building behind those, words that everyone puts in their talk today, like AI, machine learning. The one prerequisite to this is to have a data set that allows you to build whatever you need. And so today we talk about personalization during this chat. So what you need for personalization first, is a data set that allows you to understand what is the experience of my end viewer. And if I personalize the way I want to, do I get better results? So the first part about getting this data is what Cristobal talked about. And then Bleuenn talked about, well, what was my goal? Because having the data set is one thing, but then why did I actually collect this data set? So if I had a simple message when it comes to machine learning, AI, or anything like that, is first to check out, okay, what am I actually collecting about my end viewers? At Mux specifically, for instance, we collect all the information about whether your viewer will be spending more time on the stream, or whether a long startup time will affect their behavior. And they'll find that, you've tried this new tech provider and suddenly there's more rebuffering. Is that impacting my business KPI that I'm interested in? So this is kind of a technical side of personalization, whether you want more, should I move to 4K? Does that have an impact? Or should I stay on Full HD? But that particular technical aspect works for anything that relates to what you want to be personalizing. And that's the important thing, whether you're testing technology or whether you're testing things like what Cristobal mentioned, like the catalogs and the content. You need the data sets to be A, streamlined, and B, across all your viewers. And I think you were asking, Antonio, a little bit beforehand, do I need a large catalog, or do I need, or does that work on small catalogs? The importance is that you have a large data set. I don't think it matters whether you have 3 live streams or whether you have 10 million videos available on demand, because at the end of the day, if you don't have the data set, you won't have the necessary insights. So if you have a small catalog, but it's watched by a lot of people, that's entirely fine, because those people will connect from different devices, from different countries, from different regions, from different setups. And so the data set should be about the viewers. If you have a large catalog that people watch like 50 videos every month, then it's as much about the viewer as it is about what they watch. And so as long as you've got this data set, figure it out, check out, again, like Bleuenn said, am I trying to build a personalization for my technical stack in order to say, should I be moving to Dash or HLS or multi-CDN? And that's one of the things. Or should I be moving to more SVOD content or more AVOD content? Whatever your business KPI is in personalization, first start with, can I make sure that I collect the right data set for my business needs? And then move forward from there. That makes sense.
Yeah. No, and talking about that data, because anyway, this is driven by data, right? If I don't have data, there's nothing too much I can do. So what's in the subscription journey, what is the best practice to collect and start collecting the data? Just right after the subscription, or just let the system to start building the the knowledge based on the journey of the user and the type of content that they watch. Is there, and if we put it at the beginning, is this a blocker? I mean, end users, they really like to fill out and select previews, what type of movies do you like, what type of actors. This is a type of blocker, and it's better to wait for users to start watching, or this is a practice that can be, that then for another question about the A/B testing, I mean, anything you can comment on that?
I can maybe give you an example. I think of data points that I find very interesting. Netflix has measured that it takes about 1.8 seconds for a user to make a decision looking at a cover within their service, right? If yes or no, they would like to click on it. 1.8 seconds. So that particular data point of the average behavior of discoverability, right? This is where you can start thinking, okay, so what am I gonna do to actually monitor if during those 1.8 seconds I can increase the conversion rate, the click rate through, right? So where people will actually go and start looking or watching. Is that helping that there is a bit of a video starting instead of the cover? Is that helping that you are actually have a different cover pending you or me watching the same Netflix in the same country? Maybe we don't see the same cover. And that's nothing to do with playback or anything. That's about what's the user experience, one tiny event or metric that you should have in order to understand how do you impact your user experience. I think this is, and I mean, Jump can certainly, and Max can certainly give a lot of advice to their customers when it comes to data points. And there are many service providers also sharing what they have been discovering and all the experimentation process that they have been through in the ecosystem. So I think it's everything. Once you got into this mindset that monitoring is a good thing, it's actually about trying to understand every key point, every aspect. When you have now, I mean, our designers, I mean, they have a data-driven thinking, right? Every time they put a carousels up there, they're going to think, okay, what should I monitor there? What do I want to impact? What do I want to see if people got my thinking as a creative person, right? Is that useful? I find it pretty, but is that useful? Is that helping out, right? So there is whatever it's UX data point, or if it's video streaming, or if it's content related data points, I think everything.
Yeah. I agree. I would say even that as soon as you can start to collect data, you must do, because there is a lot of things that you can do before even the watch. Okay, if you start to collect data from the user for the very beginning, even the source of attribution when the user is coming to your platform, something like that, you can analyze the funnel of the users, how you are converting the users into real subscribers, and so you can analyze each step. So that part.
But Christopher, let's say talking about that. I mean, if let's say I am a subscriber that in an exploration, right? I am trying to discover something in a platform. Are we able to really show a personalization to the end user that is not real yet a subscriber?
Yeah, let's imagine, for example, that's a specific example. You have this. You have the possibility to allow your anonymous user to make playbacks, or you have a web page where you are going to offer the service, and you can use personalization with I don't know, popular trends or target a specific age or maybe interest to show a specific content in that very first page where the user is still not your subscriber, and you can personalize even that part, okay? And that part can be changing based on the catalog that you have, and you can put some personalization layer on top of that. So I think it could be interesting. So I think as soon as you can get data, I think Cyril make a very good point there. as soon as you can start to collect data, you must do, because that data could be useful. Okay.
Yeah, and how soon we will be able to start? I mean, or how many time do we need to, let's say, in a historical data, in order for the service, you know, the AI and ML start, you know, showing and popping up the results? I mean, do we need a lot of amount of months for users to start using the entire system and platform, or this is something that we can get, you know, an option just right with a few amount of data from the end users?
So I think here you're pointing out to the point, what's really important first. I mean, in the ideal world, you want as much data as you can, because volume will bring you precision when it comes to your models. Often in exploration mode, especially, you're not choosing that, right? If you're just starting a new service, you can't really choose to, yes, I want 10 million subscribers tomorrow so that I can run my model correctly. However, even with a small data set, as long as you've got 100% coverage in your data, that's still helpful. So don't sample is the key element when you collect data set. What that means is that you don't want to extrapolate things when it comes to personalization, simply because you'd be, especially with small data set, if you say, oh, look, that particular viewer has been doing this, and therefore the viewer B will be doing it. This works rather okay as long as you've got an overall insight on your data set. So as people move on through the exploration, let's say I've got Bleuenn as a viewer, she's just explored a bunch of content. I've analyzed from a technical perspective, she's connecting from, let's say, Sweden in Stockholm using an iOS device. And I've seen that the personalization that I've done for that particular device works rather well for Cristobal that has been connecting from that device before. And therefore, I'll try that out. As long as you've got, let's say, the user data set that comes in and re-informs the early users, then you're good. And this is what you've mentioned with A/B testing. A/B testing only works if you monitor all of your data set. Because the principle of A/B testing would be to say, you're building up what we call a base, which is a group of end viewers that will have enough data set for you to say, okay, well, those are my existing viewers, those that have essentially already explored, in our words just now, so that when you have a small cluster of new viewers, you want to test something, personalization, new CDN to deliver your content, new player, new device, etc. You can then compare the performance between your cluster and your base. And that's the key, whether that's why the exploration is actually part of your model, as long as you don't forget about any viewers, because every single viewer that you will monitor will be very, very important indeed for your model, if that makes sense.
Now, let's say that I have already implemented all this personalization feature into my platform. Then what are the KPIs that I will need to check just to make sure that what the system is giving is what I am expecting, or either as a user or as a business? How I can monitor and be able to know that what the service that I implemented is really doing what we're expecting, from the business point of view. Question for all.
Okay.
Bleuenn.
Here, sorry. Here, Bleuenn, you want to go? Or, okay. Here, for example, it's. I mean, there is some kind of ratios that you can extract directly. For example, you can analyze the prints that you are having on recommendations, the clicks that you are having.
Hello?
Sorry?
Yeah, no, I'm back.
Okay. I was saying that there are specific ratios that you can directly start measuring out of the box, like the prints that you are doing on recommendations, the clicks that you are having on the recommendations that you are showing, and even the plays that you are having on those recommendations. And you can compare them, let's say the performance on the recommendations, comparing them against, for example, the pure search or the pure catalog search that you can have on the customer, and you can measure if that's working. Okay, so I think there are very specific and direct ways to measure if the recommendations that you are doing are really working. Okay, or even with the scroll down, if you are, for example, taking or measuring UX events on your platform, and you can check if, for example, one of I had a customer yesterday that was really concerned because he told me, my customer, I don't expect my customers to scroll down more than 3 or 4 strips on my web page. So you can measure, for example, if they are going to find the content that they are searching for in the 3 or 4 first strips of the web page, or they are going to keep searching for that. So I think there are very good ways to measure the performance.
And also a part of that, which is, key, right? That you want to make sure that, I think also based on the engagement, right? That's a good KPI to monitor if the personalization is really as expected, would be based on the engagement on the end users database. Now,
you can measure that, for example, with the churn of your users, but even more interesting, for example, in the trial conversion. You will have to notice it in how you are converting your trial users in case that you have. Yeah.
Okay. Now, a question for all. Let's say I have a video platform. I have a content provider, and I want to integrate into my service the personalization system. What do I need? I mean, can I still use my existing platform, or do I need to move and switch into a different service provider? In talking about the integration and into the machine learning and personalization with AI, this is something I can bring into my existing platform. Not talking about the new, obviously, someone that is starting, from scratch is okay, but someone that has already a service provider with maybe years and the commitment for contract and cannot move. This is something that they will be able to integrate. How easy or difficult will be to do this integration?
Of course, I mean, there is most of the products that you hear about in this panel are cloud-based, right? And they are, you can integrate with a simple SDK, and they will in your apps, and they will start monitoring the right events for you, and you don't have to figure out everything by yourself. But of course, I think this is more, I don't think the friction is on the integration. The friction is on what do you do? What is the analysis that you put together? Booking.com is probably running something around 10,000 A/B test experiments at a single moment, right? So the e-commerce industry has been since a long time running that kind of data collection and putting, even before AI started to help them, putting some analysis. The importance that you have people that understand the power of data. There are providers like all of us that can help with whatever it is, if enabling the monitoring and making sense of it. But you eventually need to adapt your process, your editorial and business process, to take into account those data points, right? And make sure that you have the right strategy applied to it. I just wanted, conscious of time, there is a very important question, I think, in the Q&A, which is quite close to my heart. So if you don't mind, Antonio.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Good answer to this one. So the question comes from Francesca, who is questioning, of course, the ethical consideration of collecting a lot of data. I definitely share that perspective, and I would like to say a few things about this. So the first thing is that most service providers identify as a threat the fact that they could be considered by the end users as someone who collects data for a wrong usage. So eventually, the link that is between the media companies and the video providers and their user base needs and will need to remain based on transparency and trust. Governance are helping. I mean, in Europe, GDPR has been put into action so that they can enforce the technology providers like us to support our customers to be able to enable those kind of sort of a gatekeeper. But even more so, I would say that our customers have that as at their core risk analysis, that if they are, for any reasons, using the data for wrong usage, this is the end of life for their service, right? So this is a very important topic for them. They are putting sustainability as a core strategy of, at least we've been hearing and talking a lot about this lately. Of course, due to the current situation and following what happened with Black Mat, everything happening in the US and so on. So I think it's very important that we don't perceive the media as being wanting to use data for making more revenue. I think what's very important is that now is the time that, okay, we want to collect data to deliver a more personalized experience to the users that wants to have a more personalized experience. And I think the next challenge is, how do we get the user to be empowered to actually give data, the data that they are interested in to share, to actually impact their personalization? So how do you make people becoming an actor instead of being passive, becoming an actor to video consumption? And I think there is a huge challenge that the entire ecosystem needs to address, but I wouldn't, I want to reassure the audience that this is a topic that is on everyone's table right now, and this is not something that we take lightly. Of course, we take that from a business and a tech point of view, but this is definitely a responsibility that I feel is very much shared by the ecosystem. So hopefully governance will be spread, not just only in Europe, and that will continue to grow that topic, but we should be using data for a good user experience if the user is wanting to and in control of it.
Yeah.
No,